I don't know if we've ever had a year like 2025 in our lifetimes. I really don't. I mean, it had a little bit of everything. And for every one of these stories, for this complete year, the first complete year of this podcast, I was sitting right here on this bar stool talking about these stories with you every single morning, and then the replay, unless I was on the road somewhere, and then we were doing the show from somewhere else. But almost every one of them we talked about. And I got to tell you, it was an amazing year because as controversial as it seems and as, divisive as everything seems, I have to have one big takeaway of 2025, and in my opinion, because all I can give you is my opinion, I think it's all good. All of it. What do you mean? There were horrific stories in 2025. There always are. But all of this stuff seemed to come out of the surface and seemed to come to light. And there was a lot of light that happened this year, despite all the controversy. Because the news or information business is all about scaring you and, keeping you into one particular narrative and making sure that you don't ask questions. All that's different now. All of it's different, and it's great. So I thought for today, on the very last day, I can't believe we're saying that, of 2025, what we would do with the podcast is to take a look back at 2025 and talk about the most interesting stories of the year, according to me. Because, again, all I can give you is my perspective, but you may agree. Who knows? Before we get into that, and start way back in January. Thanks for finding the live stream. Wicked Radio live stream, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Put your notifications on X and on YouTube and on Facebook, and then it lives on as a replay, and then the audio podcast. And just one quick note, I would just want to thank you for this year because I didn't know how I was going to go. This was the first complete year of Wicked Radio, and I got to tell you, and I don't say this to impress you. I say it because I want to thank you. It grew by leaps and bounds, so apparently you guys are looking for something different. Not just somebody spouting opinions. I definitely do that. Or not somebody telling you what to think. I just try to ask questions and get you to look beyond the news. Don't just take the news and all this information thrown at us. Do something about it, and that's how you win. Let's get right to it. Let's start way back in January of 2025. First of all, I can't believe it's close to a year that President Trump's been in office for the second time. But it all started with this. Most interesting story to me of 2025, number one, well, they're not like ranked or anything, but in order, the inauguration for the second time around. You might forget about this. I forgot about this as well. If you go back and to grab this clip, I had to look at a lot of the speech from the inauguration in January of 25. It was a really good speech. It struck me at the time, and then it reminded me again this morning. Trump's come a long way with his public broadcast. The actual speech, not when he's going off the cuff, but this is how it all started.
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
Have they accomplished that yet? Is it there? Maybe. I think we all agreed at the time this is going to take years, maybe decades, I don't know, to accomplish, to actually do exactly that. Take it out of the hands of the bureaucrats, take it out of the hands of the politicians and give it to the people. But you have to say it first to get it done. You have to announce that that's the intention. And that has been, I have to say, that has been a theme. If you're not a fan of Trump, you have to admit, of all the policy decisions for the entire year so far, that's been the theme so far, is to give more power to the people. Big part of that was Elon Musk getting involved. Let's go back to, and this started right back. I thought it was later on, but in my review, I had to go back. Wow, this started immediately. Do you remember the Tesla takedown? The actual there was a hashtag, there was a movement, there were posters, there was this, obviously funded by somebody. There was this obvious movement to not only the idiots to key Teslas, and then they completely forgot that Teslas have camera systems and most of those people got arrested. Not those idiots. I mean, in a larger sense. The firebombing of Tesla dealerships, let's not forget, that actually happened. And the actual organized, quote-unquote, Tesla takedown to go after Tesla dealerships, Tesla owners, and obviously Elon Musk himself. Never forget this, how organized this was. They were so brazen at the time. This quickly ended when the FBI started knocking on their doors. But there was an organized effort to do this. You had all kinds of these malcontents going on podcasts and interviews and Mainstream news was talking about it. Tesla takedown, pretending it was a news story, but they're actually promoting it. Here's a little example of this. I remember playing this at the time.
Val,
almost a
maybe
year
we
ago.
could start off with a little bit of, can you just actually tell us what Tesla takedown is? Or is
Yeah,
it's not takedown Tesla, it's Tesla takedown.
Tesla takedown. Yeah, there's a website called teslatakedown.com, which is a website you can go to, get some background on the campaign. And it essentially is a map where anybody in the world can put an action up for targeting Tesla. And so I've been
A map. To geo-target Tesla dealerships, owners, people. Why? Because Elon Musk dared to support President Trump because he thought that was the best way to go for the country. Because as much as Elon Musk has done, who the hell can deny that he loves this country? The Tesla takedown. It was way deeper, guys. It was way deeper than, vandalizing individual Teslas here and there, or, somebody coming out of a gym and spray painting a Tesla. Or there was an organized effort to go after it. What did it result in? Exactly that. Vandalism, violence, Tesla dealerships, threats on Elon's life. By the way, that lady I'm pretty sure got a knock on her door from the FBI shortly after that. All because he dared to get involved in all that. People who loved Elon before, but he dares support President Trump, and he dares buy Twitter and turn it into X and support freedom of speech. That's how they went after him and organized the Tesla takedown. How did that work out, by the way? Now look at it a year later. How did that work out? Tesla stock is through the roof. Elon's doing just fine. And by the way, this quickly moved into Doge. Number 3 most important development and interesting story to me, the Doge development. Department of Government Efficiency. Now, you may think that it's gone away. It really hasn't. Yes, they didn't get the support of the wimpy rhino Republicans in Congress. No, they didn't. But this work did so much good in so many different ways. This was a recent interview of Elon talking about Doge and the work.
And it's still going on, by the way. Doge is still happening. But it turns out when you stop fraudulent and wasteful payments, the fraudsters don't, confess to this. They actually start yelling all sorts of nonsense that you're stopping essential payments to needy people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the work Doge did obviously found billions of dollars in wasteful spending. He put together all of his team of nerds. Remember Big Balls? Remember that kid and all the other ones? And they all got to work and they got right away and they found all the codes. They found the fake Social Security numbers. They found all the wasteful spending. Very importantly, what they did was they discovered and truly proved the scam of NGOs, non-government organizations, where they would be set up and they all have some beautiful name like Foundation for Feeding the Children. And it never actually really is that. And they never really do anything, which you're seeing with the Somali scams these days. And they have that. But it was interesting because they're NGOs. They were funded by taxpayer money. And in many cases, there were politicians that had either family members or they themselves are part of these NGOs and were skimming off the top. They found that. Did Doge go as far as it could have gone? No. And that caused that rift. Remember that rift between Trump and Elon, and they were all mad at each other and all that other stuff. But what he said there was really important. The work of Doge still goes on. I'd say something even more important. I look at this from like a society perspective. I try to look at things from 3,000 feet. It opened the eyes of regular people like you and me to government waste and spending and corruption, which we've all known about, and the bureaucracy and the red tape and all this other crap. But it opened our eyes to exactly, number one, how bad it is. That was the bad part. Number two, that something can actually be done about it. And it gave a lot of hope to a lot of people. The work of Doge, Elon said it right there, it doesn't stop. But it only continues if you have the support of the American people. So the next time this big movement comes up or is ongoing or whatever, it's going to get a lot of support because they proved in a relatively small way that it can work. Massive development. It opened all of our eyes. And it was shocking and it was painful at first. We said that at the time. I remember saying to you guys and reaching out to a lot of you who messaged me directly almost a year ago now. This is just unbelievable. How can this country can't exist like this? And I remember saying, hold on, wait, stop, time out for a second. Yes, it's bad. And yes, it's painful. What 2025 was all about was ripping off the Band-Aid to realize how corrupt things are. The good side of this was you realize what can be done about it. There's a lot of hope. I'm telling you, there's a lot of good stuff in 2025. A lot of bad stuff, too. Next most interesting, according to me, story of 25 was the Palisades fire. Really, the LA fires. This happened in, early 25. To me, the most fascinating part, interesting doesn't mean good, was the after effect of this and people staying on the story. It's happened a lot. Remember, like, for example, remember the Maui fire in Hawaii, which is just absolutely tragic, just so destructive. So many people lost their lives, their homes, their livelihoods. And then it got wiped off the front pages so fast. That wasn't the case with the LA fires, the Malibu and Palisades fires. Not so much. You still see a lot of stories about it. Is it top headline? No. But people have stayed on this. Maybe that's because it's LA. Maybe because a lot of prominent people in the number 2 media market are there. Maybe that's why. But I think there's something else. I think, again, we talked about ripping off the Band-Aid in 25 and realizing how corrupt things are. It was an eye-opener for everybody outside of California. It's most of us who realized how bad the corruption is in that state. This fire, which many experts now have come out and said was completely preventable, if you cleared the underbrush, if you actually filled the reservoirs, if you actually staffed the fire departments, if you actually were on scene for this, if you actually had the fire hydrants ready to go. It was complete and total corruption and mismanagement. But again, they followed this story all the way through, and it hasn't gone away to hold them accountable. Will it work? I don't know, but it's a start to stop this kind of corruption. This guy's name is Steve Hilton. This was from just earlier in the month. This was from, I think it was December 8th. I think he's running for mayor of L.A. Probably not going to win because he's going after the powers that be. Maybe California is going to be lost to Democrats forever, corrupt ones. But this is what he says, and this is what I mean by this story continuing. He talked about this so-called redevelopment. You know how many houses have been rebuilt in that area? How many? 1. And it's a show house. Here's him doing a little expose on it.
So I'm in the Pacific Palisades, and I just want to show you something that is the absolute symbol of the disgusting uselessness and gaslighting and lies of Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. Remember, Gavin Newsom promised a Marshall Plan to rebuild LA. Karen Bass said she'd got rid of all the barriers to permits and whatever. And then the other day she touted the first house that was rebuilt as an example of how fantastic things are going 11 months after the fires. Right, here it is.
He shows one house, and apparently he goes on to say it's like a show house. It's like a model home example, just to get that thing thrown up so they can say they're doing something. That's been revealed. The entire country now is aware of the kind of corruption that Los Angelinos and Californians have been complaining about for years. Now the whole country is aware of it. And again, that story has not gone away. And it also exposed a lot of nonprofit fraud, which is very important. A lot of these fire benefits, there's a story, nobody can find the money, reportedly. Do you remember the big concert, the Fire Aid concert? A bunch of big bands involved with that. Nobody got money from that. That was a complete and total scam. Even the band, even the people involved who just wanted to help out, the acts involved, the performers involved, and people who called in the 1-800 number or texted money or whatever, wired money, whatever it is, they just wanted to help. No, not so much. These horrific events like this, like what happened with the Palisades and Malibu fire, these kinds of things are so eye-opening when people care enough about it. And apparently, nobody's letting that one go, and good for them. Next most interesting story to me was the new Pope. I was fascinated by this. It may be because I was brought up Catholic. I don't know. Maybe. So, I'm kind of like a recovering Catholic. There's a lot about the church that I've always disagreed with, going back to when I was a kid. That was a big family fight of mine. But I was fascinated because Pope Leo is an American Pope. So I had high hopes. I thought, this guy's going to have some American sensibilities, right? He's going to probably understand where we're coming from in America. He's probably going to understand the uniquely American independent perspective and bring that to the world. Not so much, no. And it was almost right away he criticized us having a border, even though this is a guy that lives behind Vatican walls. That's neither here nor there, but whatever. This was the amazing part to me, and I don't know if this is just because maybe Catholics can relate to this more, but we're so used to popes speaking in Italian or Latin or another language or whatever it was. I got to tell you guys, it freaked me out when I heard his first address and he was speaking in English. I don't know why. It was so weird to me, but here you go. This was it.
Dear brothers and sisters, in the scripture passage we have listened to, St. Paul reminds us that God is able to accomplish far more than we can ever ask or imagine.
I don't know. That's still weird to me. Great to hear his Pope speaking English, but crystal clear English because he was brought up in Chicago. But wow, that was weird. Is he going to turn out to be a great Pope? I don't know. Who the heck knows? Like I said, it was almost immediate. He started criticizing American immigration policies. You know what? No, Padre. That's not your purpose. Don't do that. Don't criticize our politics and don't criticize us for wanting to have a border, okay? That's all I ask. Let's jump to entertainment for a second. I thought this was fascinating. You're probably going to disagree. I think this is important. You're going to say, Snow White? Rachel Zegler? Why is she on the list in the review of 2025? Hold on. Again, all I can give you what I thought was interesting to me. But I thought it was fascinating because this was a pushback, a real one. A pushback to the giant entertainment industry at Disney specifically. Remember the Snow White movie and what a terrible fail that was? I mean, first of all, it was like, year and a half, 2 years delayed. It was rewritten. It was this and that. It was what? And it was a bomb. I mean, one of the worst box office bombs of all time. Even on streaming, nobody streamed it or liked it. And Disney's response was, what? Remember this? Well, we're re-engineering things. We're going to go back to original animation. People are tired of the same regurgitated stories. We need new stories. We need that. That's why people didn't like Snow White. No. The reason why was you had possibly the most unlikable star of all time starring in this movie. And you had her who nonstop, would not stop doing interviews, insulting the fans, insulting the country, jumping off on her political opinions and all this other crap. It turned off the audience so badly. That was the reason why this movie bombed. Number one. Besides, I didn't see it, besides the fact that people who did see it said it was actually kind of crappy. You can look at your star for this Disney and no other reason.
There are times when it feels a bit impossible, doesn't it? To exist in a world where it feels like we can't be louder than a whisper without it making headlines. There's something beautiful and terrifying about how much the world seems to care about our opinions while simultaneously telling us to stick to our arts, our creativity.
Nobody really cares about your opinions, Toots. That's the whole problem there. And I don't know what it was. This was amazing to me because you remember the lead up of this movie? It was all hyped and then they knew it was going to be a bomb, so they had to over-advertise it. So it was like all you heard of in spring of 25 was this movie coming out, and she still was going on making stupid comments in the media. Like nobody at Disney could say, hey, calm down a little bit till we get this movie done. Massive bomb. But again, my takeaway, the reason why I put it on my list, a huge pushback from the consumer to the entertainment industry and Disney. And look at the results since. There's still celebrities. There are still celebrities saying stupid things, trying to influence, trying to talk politics from their stage, even though a lot of them are some of the dumbest people you'll ever hear of. But it's less. It's less of that. And will it stay forever? Probably not. They won't learn their lesson. But it calmed them down for a little bit. It's kind of like last year, or I guess it was a couple of years ago now, the whole Bud Light thing, where the beverage industry, Anheuser-Busch and InBev, kind of realized a massive mistake they made. And this was the entertainment version of that. This was the audience saying, you know what? We don't like you. we support your company or we don't. That was a lesson learned for Disney. That's why I put it on my list. I thought it was fascinating. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to hear about it. This was fascinating too. Come on. Don't try to pretend you don't remember the Coldplay Kiss scandal. Come on. Remember this? I forgot this was in Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. I forgot that's where it was. You remember. It was a big Coldplay concert. I think they did 2 nights. It was sold out. And then they do the kiss cam. They go into the skybox seats. And then you had this CEO and one of his co-workers having a kiss. But it was discovered on the big screen. Remember this? It lasted for like 2 weeks. The controversy and then the non-apology, then the apology. Here it was.
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Unfortunate for them, and I don't mean to laugh at them, whatever, that's somebody's personal decision. To me, it was the after effect with that was fascinating. First of all, it was a lesson for all of us that, you know what, you are on camera potentially anywhere at any time and anybody can find you. I mean, it was just lesson learned. They certainly learned that. They didn't think they were going to be on the kiss cam, and he lost his corporate CEO job. She did too. There was a divorce involved, all that other stuff. That's their personal lives, right? But what's the takeaway from all that? The most amazing thing to me was the incoming CEO of that guy's company. Now, he lost his job, but the incoming guy was amazing. He came out with a statement at the time when he got hired, the interim guy who's now the CEO. He said, yes, it's true. It's unfortunate that this controversy has come to our company, but I'm going to use this as an opportunity to talk about all the great things we do as a company. I remember at the time saying, that's amazing. That's how you use the media. That's how you use something that's a controversy and turn it into a win. So that was actually a big story. I know, not the most important story of the world, but it was big. That dominated the headlines for a good solid week and a half, 2 weeks. We also had this. This is more serious, and this actually did matter. The ceasefire, or at least the attempt between Israel and Hamas, but most importantly, getting the hostages home. President Trump, after it happened, was speaking about it, and this is what he said.
This is not only the end of a war. This is the end of an age of terror and death and the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God. It's the start of a grand concord and lasting harmony for Israel and all the nations of what will soon be a truly magnificent region. I believe that so.
I don't know what's going to happen to that region. I don't think any of us do. Who the heck knows? I mean, you're talking about an area of the world that's been warring since the dawn of recorded history, I would guess you would actually say. Is it perfect? No. Were all the hostages returned on time? No. There's still war breaking out? Yes, of course. But you have to start somewhere. You really, truly do. And honestly, I think the heartwarming thing for me was not like I'm rooting for any political party. You know that. Not like I'm biased or on any particular side. I just root for the American people. But I saw a lot of people, even people that truly online, well-known, notable people, but also people I happen to know, in real life that despise President Trump, were willing to give him credit for this and the work that they actually did. I mean, truly, the administration. It was undeniable to even get to that point. And it taught me that even though you've got people who are so spun up about certain politics and policies, there's still that element where people can reach across and say, yeah, you know what? I don't like the guy. I'd never vote for him, but that was pretty cool. That was good progress. And I heard that a lot from a lot of different people. Like I said, both in real life and online. It was nice to see. Shortly after that was, I think, it was probably in many different ways, the most horrific story that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, you've got 9/11, you've got other tragic, horrible, horrible things that have happened in this country. And I don't want to put them on the same level or whatever. I'm just talking about as far as witnessing something in real time as disgusting as it was, and that was the assassination, the murder of Charlie Kirk. Again, these are, I'm not saying they're the best stories or most important, whatever, the most interesting to me. Because the after effect of Charlie Kirk getting assassinated, and God, was that awful. You know what I'm talking about, too. I mean, there couldn't have been a camera closer to that happening. I mean, that was true. I said it at the time. I still believe it. That was the most horrific thing I've ever seen on a screen. Not in real life. That was the most, that still gives me shivers. That was so utterly horrifying. We know he died. We know the after effect. The after effect from that, though, I truly believe this is why I put it on the list. I think they're far-reaching, and I think they're going to last a long, long time. You could talk about his work. This guy went to college campuses and tried to open up a conversation. For that, he was murdered. Let's call it for what it is. For that, he was called every possible name in the book because he pushed back against the narrative and dared to have his own opinion. You know that. And there's still people saying that. But this also happened. Don't forget about this with the Charlie Kirk story. And this gets underplayed, and it really shouldn't, because this is the most important part of it all. There were so many people after that. So many people. Another case where online I saw this, but also in my own personal life and in real life. I saw it, I witnessed it, I saw it, heard from these people. Where they heard all these names being thrown at Charlie Kirk. And thank God, and it was so heartwarming to see people actually go do their own research and look back and they say, so many examples of this, where they went back and they said, everybody's telling me that this guy was a racist and a homophobe and a transphobe and he was horrible and a Nazi and a fascist and all this stuff. I don't see it. I wasn't too aware of him before, but I'm reading back and I looked at a bunch of other speeches and I read some quotes from the book and I don't see it. Guys, I cannot, you're probably the same way. I cannot tell you how many times I actually heard that. And it was so heartwarming. There's always something good out of something absolutely horrific. Every single time. It's just like a law of the universe. The good that came out of that, if anything, was people doing their own research and pushing back against a false narrative. That was amazing to see, as horrific as it was. But then you also had scumbags out there who were being as loud as they possibly could to disparage the guy, right? Call him every name of the book. We all saw it. We all saw the video of these cretins, these creatures celebrating his murder. We all saw it. Then we also saw this. But again, from bad news, there's always good news. Remember the whole Jimmy Kimmel story? Oh, and after he said this, he cried. He said, I'm sorry, I'm getting canceled. But again, the good news was he was pushed back. But this is what got him in trouble.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Score political points. Goes on his monologue and brings that up and says it was, quote unquote, one of them. And they're trying to score political points. This was his take on it. Well, you all know what happened, the pushback on that. And the great part is the pushback actually happened. The pushback happened from the audience. They contacted affiliates. One of the big affiliate companies took him off the air. We know what happened there for a little while. He's back now, I get it, but he had to apologize, had to calm down a little bit. Again, kind of like that Disney story we were talking about with Snow White. This was an entertainment and information giant with ABC and their affiliates strongly getting the word. Strongly feeling the pushback. The pushback is still a thing. This is why I always say it's like, don't just take the news, do something about it. You tend to think it's just one person in the world, in the country, it doesn't matter. Oh, it does. Because if enough people push back, like with the Jimmy Kimmel thing, it does have an effect. Is he still an ass? Is he still a knucklehead? Is he still going on a foreign TV outlet like he did over Christmas and disparage America? Yeah, absolutely. But there is the story. He had to go on a foreign TV outlet to do that. He's been kind of like pushed back. They got the word. They got pushed down a little bit, and they got stood up for that. And it was great to see. Again, out of horrific stories come great things. But it takes action. That's what you have to do. Speaking of action, this is in my top 10 in the most recent story. I call it the Somali scam. I was just talking about this yesterday and the day before because it just happened this week. Nick Shirley, YouTuber, now over, I think I checked this, it's like 130 million impressions for his video, going to Somali daycare centers and exposing the fraud and the scam. And look what this has led to. Look at the investigations. Look at the FBI now is fully investigating and revealing that they are doing that. Federal funds have been taken away from these scam centers in Minnesota. Now you've got investigations and the long arm of the law looking at other cities like Columbus and cities in Michigan and in Boston and New York. This is what matters. What's the great news about this? This kid, shouldn't call him that, this actual journalist, Nick Shirley, 23 years old, who has a YouTube channel. Now 1 million followers. And this thing, again, got 130 million plus impressions. This kid changed the way things are covered forever. It's been leading to this, but it truly is accurate what Elon said. We are the media now because of people like Nick Shirley. Remember this one?
Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open
They
up!
said they spelt learning wrong.
Don't open up!
How do you have ice here, ma'am? I'm literally a YouTuber.
Don't open.
That was my favorite part of the 43 minute video. He said, first, all in one little clip. Yeah, he pointed it out. He said, the learning center is spelled leering. And then you had this lunatic with a cell phone saying, ICE is here, don't open up. Didn't that just say it all? I mean, he exposed the fraud where there's no kids and they can't even spell learning center. And then you had a lunatic willing to support the fraud. There you go. But the takeaway is all that got exposed and had massive, massive effects to wrap up 2025. Well, those are my interesting stories. According to me, stories of 2025. You may disagree. I don't know. But all I can give you is my opinion. But the main takeaway is this. They throw all this information at it. We've never had more information thrown at us, which means you got to ask more questions. It doesn't mean we're better informed, but it means you don't have to just take all of this news and all this information and get freaked out. no matter where it comes from, online or legacy media. What you got to do is take advantage of it. Do something about it, and that's how you win. My other takeaway is thank you so much for this year. I didn't know really the first full year of the podcast and the live stream how it was going to go, but honestly, I'm just being objective. It's growing by leaps and bounds, so I appreciate you as all you guys who are here with me in the live stream every day, or you're just following along on clips on TikTok or YouTube, or you watch the replay, whatever it is, on X or Facebook or YouTube, or the audio podcast. It's great being with you every day, so we'll keep it going. I'm going to add to this, too, with more in-depth interviews. That's the next phase of this, now that we're established for a first full year. Thank you so much for being here. I hope 2026 is the best year of your life. And you know what? Let's just say it's going to be. It's going to be great. Let's make it a wicked awesome one. Thanks for being with me. I'll probably talk to you in the new year.